All right, so a topic that I just can't seem to get enough of because in every class we teach and every customer I work with, there's this tendency to hybridize waterfall and traditional ways of working with these ideas from Scrum. And it spans a spectrum. I mean, I did a video on 50 Shades of Agile Transformations, which kind of talks about, sort of shades of gray of like, oh, well, we do waterfall, but we've got a little Scrum, or we do a lot of Scrum, but still a lot of waterfall. But I just kind of want to go through some ideas here about how you could maybe hybridize successfully using Waterfall. And I know that's really blasphemous. So for those fans of Scrum out there, just hold your breath and just hear me out.
How dare you?
So some things I would watch out for especially are going to be around sequential phases using Agile execution. And what I mean by that is like we have an analysis sprint. So you're going to analyze things in Scrum anyway, so watch out for phased delivery of these increments. The problem with it is you kick risk down the road. So analysis sprint happens, or 5 of them happen, and then we've got a design sprint for a few, and then we develop sprint, and then, oh wow, this doesn't work the way we thought. So then it goes back to the designers who are busy working on their next design sprint, and now we have an unknown amount of delay and cost overrun. So while you can do it, sure, you could theoretically have these phase-gated sprints, you're kind of missing the point of what Scrum was designed to do, which is mitigate risk sooner. And so while you can hybridize that way, I don't recommend you really do.
Yeah, the thing that I often point out about that is that the whole idea in Scrum is that you're having short feedback cycles. But if you spread these phases out 4 sprints, let's say, your actual feedback loop is 4 times what you think it is. So you're just delaying that feedback loop.
So could you make an argument that you phase these things, but you just do it in a 30-day chunk? So you do your analysis, design, and your thing within the first 2 weeks, and then if you're wrong, you still have time to go back and revisit the design before the end of the sprint.
I mean, honestly, I think you're onto something there. I mean, shorter, if you're going to do these phased sprints, like forget it, we're breaking all the Scrum rules right now, but let's say we did these phased sprints. The shorter you make them, the better. The quicker you get to a realized increment, like if you could do this phased execution where like 3 days was your design sprint and 3 days was your coding sprint, and then QA kicks it off by the end of the month, but still within a month you have a finished outcome, it starts to look a little like Scrum results. And any mistakes you catch are going to be caught much sooner. So we're getting creative here, again, breaking all the Scrum rules. All my Scrum friends are going to make fun of me now on Twitter.
I can hear the torches and pitchforks being taken out as we speak.
Here's another one, parallel streams. So what is that all about? That means like some people are all working in parallel. Like design is happening at the same time as develop, at the same time as maybe some QA things. And or even designing and developing of different things where we're not really communicating across these parallel streams. And that can work. I mean, it might, try it, see what happens. But some risks I would be looking out for are integration risks, really. So Team A is working on their features and Team B is working on something totally separate. And then in 6 sprints, you try to combine all of that work and you find out it doesn't integrate. And correct me if I'm wrong, I believe this is what happened to healthcare.gov and one of the disasters that happened there when they were trying to implement this way for people to buy insurance on the marketplace. It was a disaster from what I understand because they had different people working in different sort of silos, working on different ways to aggregate data, and all at the end they're trying to integrate it, and it didn't work.
Building 2 ends of the bridge, and then you come together and find out that the bridges are not.
What antidote to this or something that would help is design your interfaces first and then go parallel. So in other words, you could always be building your thing and it will always integrate because you've already built the integration path first. And I think I'll mention that because I think Tesla actually does a pretty decent job of this. You got bumper people, that's all they focus on. You got somebody who's like the roll cage concepts and that's all they focus on. But they can focus on their thing parallel, independently, and they constantly interface their solutions that have been tested on the fly, like instantly. So and if you have a hyper interface design where you're extremely good at that, I think what you're talking about can actually be a baller way of getting things done. But kind of doesn't look like Scrum at that point.
Right.
Yeah, well, if you've got other ways to get results, Scrum doesn't have to be the only way to get there. But
Yeah, I
I like
suppose.
that idea. One last kind of topic I wanted to hit on was sort of a general waterfall delivery style with some agile development or Scrum pieces kind of injected into it. For example, waterfall project, we're going to be working on this thing for 2 years. We've got phase gates, we've got a deliverable and an end date. And somebody says, hey, why don't we just add a daily Scrum? That'll help improve things. And let's just get the project managers to get together and talk about it with the pseudo Scrum Masters who are really project managers. And sure, that might create some form of increased transparency about progress, but you're still just talking about percent complete of things that aren't done at all. And so, best case scenario, some good conversations come up. Worst case scenario, now you've got a new 15-minute to 30-minute meeting you have to have every day on top of the ones you probably already have. So just in terms of benefits, I mean, you might get some non-zero benefits from just injecting a small practice into a waterfall overall delivery style, but the benefits are so minimal, I'd almost argue that it's probably going to actually do more harm than good.
Yeah, especially if you're mistaking adding this little small practice for an overall transition to an agile development framework, right? Like, I would kind of take an analogy here to exercise, right? If you're not exercising or moving at all, right, is it beneficial for you to take a 5-minute walk every day? Yes, it is. If you take a look at that 5-minute walk and say, oh, I walked for 5 minutes, I don't need to move the rest of the day. Like, that's probably not great. Right. And so if you injected a daily scrum or some kind of daily sync up meeting into a waterfall process, are you going to see increased transparency? Yeah, probably. Are you then operating in this very agile and nimble product development mindset? Not really. You still have a long ways to go.
Can I toss one more thing in? I know we talked a lot on this one, but I feel like you would have to unlock your ability to give more time and budget if you start doing that. Because if you have a daily meeting and can't accept any change that you detect as necessary, I think you're kind of just using that daily meeting as an excuse to have a coffee together and get a status update. But if you could actually use that 24-hour period to say, hey, a change has to be implemented and this is going to affect time and budget, I think that's better than not doing that, in my
Yeah.
opinion, but it still suffers from a lot of potential waste and isn't very lean in full scheme of things. But yeah, open up the checkbook. You're going to need to start writing some checks.